welcome to my May reading plans. I want to outline the 5 books that are on the schedule for the month, talk about my next audiobook listen, my next short story collection that I'll finish, and then give you a wildcard pick at the end if I do go through all of these books. So in April, I put 5 books on the schedule that were in 5 different genres, and I thought it was a fantastic reading month. Just the quality was great, the quantity was great, the diversity was great, and I said, let's do that again. So the 5 books that are on the schedule are in 5 different genres. Starting with The Dream Thief's Daughter by Michael Moorcock. So this is part of the 3rd omnibus collection of the Chronicles of Elric of Melniboné, which is kind of classic fantasy or more traditional fantasy, although from a maybe more pessimistic lens than the optimism of Tolkien. In many ways, because Moorcock was very critical of Tolkien, he's kind of been, I guess, branded as the antithesis of Tolkien. And Elric of Melniboné is a very dark and very flawed character, but a very compelling character. The first 2 omnibus collections that I read had 8 novels in it, and this collection has 3 novels. And from what I understand, I think the 3 novels kind of form a trilogy, and this is Elric more in the multiverse, which honestly doesn't have me super excited because I didn't like the connections to the multiverse in the other Elric novels as much as I just enjoyed the kind of the traditional storytelling. My 2 favorite books in that series were The Bane of the Black Sword and Stormbringer, and I don't think there were many connections at all. And I felt that some of the other ones just weren't as compelling to me, but I'm excited to read this. I'm excited to get back to this character. It's been like 2 years since I've read an Elric novel, and every time I look at my shelf, this big collection is kind of staring at me, so it's time to delve in. So we'll see. If I really enjoy the first book, I might read all 3 of them kind of in quick succession rather than spreading them out over several months, but we'll see. But the first book on the calendar for May is The Dream Thief's Daughter by Michael Moorcock. Second book on the schedule, first book was fantasy, second book is historical fiction, and this is Fall of Giants by Ken Follett. So this is the first book in the Century trilogy. And Follett is an author that I've read quite a bit before, well, 6 books if you call that quite a bit, but 5 of them are huge, just like this one. Fall of Giants is the first book in the Century trilogy, and this is historical fiction. I think it's following 5 different families, or maybe it's less than that. I'm not sure. I haven't read the blurb in a while, but it follows several different families across the globe throughout the entirety of the 20th century. And I've really enjoyed Follett's historical fiction. I read the 5 books in the Kingsbridge Saga. The Pillars of the Earth is one of my favorite books of all time, one of my favorite works of all time in historical fiction. The sequel, World Without End, is almost its equal, and I basically enjoyed all 5 of those books of varying levels, so I'm very excited to read Fall of Giants. I've been told the first 2 are great, and I've heard that the third one is a bit more kind of underwhelming for some people, but I'll go in with an open mind. The one thing I really appreciate about these chunky books by Follett is that they read pretty fast, despite their page length. This is around 900 pages, I think. But Follett started his career as a thriller writer. So the thing that has been in common with all of the books that I've read by him is that the plotting and pacing is usually pretty superb. And even though some of these stories are long, the story keeps moving. He keeps moving just everything forward, and it doesn't feel like the length. And a lot of the books, I get to the end, and I can't believe I'm there already. So I hope that's the case with Fall of Giants. This is a buddy read. I'm reading those with 2 friends. I'm reading this with Kyle from Read by Kyle and Ian from Ian the Reader, and I'm sure we'll probably have some discussions for this if you're interested in jumping in and hearing about these books. We are spreading out the trilogy throughout this year. We're reading this one in the second quarter, and then we'll read the second and third books in the third and fourth quarters of the year, respectively. So if you're interested in reading some Ken Follett or even just hearing us talk about it, we'll be reading Fall of Giants in May. Up next is some crime fiction, and this is The Winter of Frankie Machine by Don Winslow. Don Winslow has fast become a favorite author of mine. He was a priority of mine last year, and that continues this year because he hasn't missed yet. I've read 7 of his books so far, and they were all really, really good. Well, The Winter of Frankie Machine is a standalone novel, and Frankie Machine is I think he's a mob hitman, is what this story is about. I think it's a little bit more on the noir side of what Winslow does, and I'm really excited to read this one, and I'm doubly excited because a few weeks ago, Yolanda over at StoryTube did a kind of an analysis of the first chapter of this book, just illustrating how well Winslow is able to show you characterization with a small economy of means. And I love when authors do that. In fact, I'll be talking about that a little bit when I review The Black Ice by Michael Connelly, because Connelly does a similar thing in that book in the first chapter where you get a lot about character by Harry Bosch with the author just showing it to you and not telling you about it. So I'm really excited to see Winslow do that here. One thing I've been really impressed with this author is how he changes his writing style based on the story. So I'm very much looking forward to reading The Winter of Franking Machine by Don Winslow. Some nonfiction by someone known primarily as a novelist is up this month, and this is Once There Was a War by John Steinbeck. Steinbeck's a favorite author of mine. I've read 15 or 16 works of his as I try to get through and read everything if I can. And this is a work of nonfiction. This will be the second work of nonfiction I've read by Steinbeck. The first one I have to mention is Travels with Charlie in Search of America. Fantastic book. It's so incredible. And it's just basically Steinbeck traveling across America with his dog Charlie and meeting people. And it's fantastic. Anyway, go pick that one up. I hope I feel the same thing about this one. Although this is obviously going to be a lot different in tone because this is Steinbeck's dispatches during the war as a journalist. So Once There Was a War, this is kind of earlier Steinbeck. It's not fiction Steinbeck, but I'm sure the writing is just as assured as everything that I've read. Read The Pastures of Heaven last month, which is his second published work. Blew me away. Fantastic. So looking forward to reading this one. Thank you to Jeff who sent this to me from my Amazon wish list. I really appreciate that and look forward to reading Once There Was a War by John Steinbeck in May. And the last one on the schedule, fifth genre in the fifth book, is a work of science fiction. And this is This Day All Gods Die by Stephen R. Donaldson. This is the fifth and final book in the Gap cycle. This is a science fiction work. It's a space opera. It's a grimdark space opera, heavily influenced by Richard Wagner's Ring and the Nibelung. And I'm looking forward to getting to the end of the story and hoping that Donaldson sticks the landing. The jury's still out for me in this series. I would say 4 books in that I like the series but don't love the series, and I hope that this book changes my mind. I felt that the third book was the kind of the low point of the series for me. The fourth book, trajectory's back up. I am a little disappointed that there aren't more tie-ins to the Ring of the Nibelung, but I am enjoying the series nonetheless. Donaldson his writing is fantastic. I mean, it just flows. He's the perfect combination of clear but not simplistic. And I really like that kind of writing style where there's nothing that's kind of hidden in there. It's not hard to read, but it's also not simplistic sentence structures and things like that, vocabulary. It's really rich kind of writing style. So I really like that. I'm looking forward to seeing if all of the horrific events in the early part of the series, they pay off at the end here. So This Day All Gods Die, I'll be reading in May and concluding the Gap cycle by Stephen R. Donaldson. So the next audiobook that I'll finish, it's super short. So as I'm filming this, there's a few more days left in April. So I might actually finish it in April. We'll find out. But that's Sins of the Fathers by Lawrence Block. If you're not an audiobook listener, I would recommend picking up a work of crime noir because it works really well. Because it's a first-person narrative. So it's almost like, in the case of this book, Matthew Scudder, who's a detective, is telling me the story because he's telling me telling I did this, and it works really well for audio. So if you haven't done audiobook and you maybe want to try, I think a work of crime noir might work really well. This will be the second book by Lawrence Block that I've read. I read 8 Million Ways to Die last year, and it absolutely blew me away. One of the finest works of crime fiction that I've read. So that was, I think, the fourth book in the Matthew Scudder series. So I'm going back to the beginning. This is the first one, and I'll probably go through all of this because I was just impressed enough with that writer to continue. So I don't know if I'll do them all audio or do some of them audio, some of them reading with my eyes or not, but I am about an hour into Sins of the Father on the audio, and the narrator's fantastic. So this will be the next audiobook that I finished, either late April or it will be in my May reading plans. So unless you're new to the channel or these TBR videos, you know that I read short fiction in between main novels. Well, my next short fiction collection works better reading it consecutively. So this is another one. I may finish it in April, rather than it lingering into May, but I did want to mention it more than just when I wrap it up. This will be the third time I've read this, actually, and that's Hearts in Atlantis by Stephen King. I'm doing a Stephen King short fiction project where I'm going through all of the works by King, all of the short fiction collections that he's published, and I've been really enjoying this. This is a multi-year project that I'm doing, and I'm a little past the halfway point. But as I started reading the first story in here, which is about a 220-page novella, I realized I don't want to stop and pause between stories because the stories here there are 5 of them and they're interconnected. So this is a less, I guess, typical type of short story collection since they are all kind of linked. So I may finish this in April. I'm only a little bit into it right now, but I plan on reading quite a bit over this weekend because I don't have any big tasks on the weekend to do, so I'll probably be reading a bit of this. So I might finish this early, but this is my short fiction collection I'll be reading next, Hearts in Atlantis by Stephen King. So on to my wildcard pick. I honestly never know if I'll get to this. This is just a guess that if I get through the 5 books on the schedule towards the end of the month, something I might pick up next. Well, I have some travel at the end of the month, which means I probably won't jump into that second Elric book. I probably won't pick up another big hardcover. I want something that's easy to travel with. So how about The Swords of Night and Day by David Gemmell, the final book in the Draenei saga? I'm so excited to get here. Now, I will be doing a big Draenei saga video with some reading advice, but I'm actually going to read the 2 prequels first, just to see if I think that they tie in and enough to, make them essential for you to read these books. But I'm really looking forward to this one. This is set like 1,000 years after all of the other books in the series, so I'm really excited to read this. It is Skilganon, it is Druss. I thoroughly enjoyed the 4th book, which I read last month, and we'll talk about on my wrap-up video for my short reviews in April, probably next weekend. So hey, those are my May reading plans. If you've read any of these books, let me know in the comments section below, because with the exception of Hearts in Atlantis, I haven't read them, so of course spoiler-free down there. And let me know what you're planning on reading in May. What are you most looking forward to reading next month? If you like this video, please like and subscribe. You can also find me on Twitter, Goodreads, and the Fireside Discord. I'd love to interact with you there. As always, thank you for watching. Till next time, goodbye.